Okay, so for this report, I wanted to explore the knowledge management space. And if you're not aware of what knowledge management is, it's the process of identifying, organizing, storing, and disseminating information within an organization. Really wanted to interview UOW's own knowledge management coordinator, Samantha Peace. She's only been in the role since early 2022 and has made phenomenal advancements within the university knowledge management space. She's one of the first to utilize knowledge blocks to transform established student content so it includes inserted staff-facing content that can assist with frontline service staff inquiries. The creativity that's involved in this profession is innately linked to problem solving. How can we give this information to students so that it benefits them in the best way possible? It's not just about writing FAQs, it's about condensing university information so that the entirety of the student body can access it.
My name's Samantha Peace. I'm the Knowledge Management Coordinator here at the University of Wollongong. I graduated in 2021. I did a Bachelor of Commerce Dean Scholar with a double major in Economics and Social Policy. So I originally thought that I would go out into the world and take on some public policy, but have been fortunate enough to stay on here as the Knowledge Management Coordinator.
Alright, so what are 3 attributes or values you think you possess?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think the number one attribute that I possess and something that really helps me in my role is curiosity. So I was one of those kids that always asked why, and I've continued that in the workplace, and I think that's really impactful in looking at processes and why things occur and maybe why we're doing things and maybe if we should be doing them. Another one I think is integrity. So I'm always looking to operate in an honest and transparent way. I think if you operating around people 35 hours a week and you're not doing it with integrity and honesty, it doesn't make it an easy place to navigate. I think perspective and the ability to zoom out and look at the interdependent relationships between things, especially being in a knowledge role, it's never just as simple as one thing, unfortunately, so you've got to look at how things work together.
What are you most passionate about?
Ooh, I think people. I think personally and professionally, people is at the core of everything that drives me, motivates me. I'm very passionate about people being treated equally, regardless of who you are. I find that who you work for and who you work around is just as important as what you do. And I think everything that I do in my life gravitates towards the people that I care about, yeah. I think at the core of what a knowledge management coordinator does and what I do is writing FAQs for students. So that's writing self-help articles to help students frictionlessly get through our life cycles and navigate our somewhat complex administrative processes at times and using words that resonate with them. But I think more broadly, knowledge management looks at the systems you use and the processes you use to capture, store, create and then disseminate knowledge throughout the institution. So whilst what I do day to day is writing FAQs, it's a little bit more complex than that, and we're going on an institutional knowledge journey at the moment, so trying to get everyone on board is, yeah, a mission. Within my work, collaboration is everything. So whilst I'm the person writing the articles and doing kind of the back-end system updates, I'm not the content owner of any of our processes. So there's nothing that I can really write without going to people and asking for accurate information and what processes they use. I also write articles for students. I'm no longer a student, so I have to collaborate constantly, almost on every single article with students, to ensure that the language we're using actually is received from the student population and we're not just using organisational speak. I also have to collaborate significantly with our frontline service staff. They're receiving inquiries every day in the way that students ask and how they can answer questions to make sense. So I don't think there's anything that I do in my knowledge management role that I do solo. Everything is collaborative work with other people.
So how does collaboration play into your ideation, development and production processes?
Oh yeah, I think I just spoke to kind of some of the tactics that we use, but collaboration looks a little bit different depending on the desired outcome of the article. So if it's something that has been brought up because students aren't understanding the content that we currently have, the most important stakeholder and the most important person for me to collaborate with there are students to ensure that the language that we're using is the right language to explain the process. Whereas if it's a new thing or a legislative requirement, it's usually the content owners or the team that owns the process that are most important to collaborate with. But there's also broader collaboration that I do within my role, such as with our IT departments for system upgrades and system enhancements. So yeah, it really depends on the task at hand, what collaboration looks like in that development process. But I think it's putting the customer first and including them, and that's usually students, and putting them at the centre wherever we can.
So what specific moment comes to mind in your career when you think about collaboration?
I can think of a really recent example that has taken kind of 4 or 5 months of my life away, is a massive collaborative project that we've done between, we call them Tier 2 escalation units, but it's like the fees team, the timetabling team, the compliance team, and then frontline service staff. So what I've done for the past 4 or 5 months is get everyone in a room together and go, open your drawers, give me all the standard responses that you send out to students, and let's look at a way that we can develop this all together to put the knowledge in one spot so that no matter who picks up the inquiry, it can be answered at one point in time. But what that has meant has been collaborating with 8 different teams, I think maybe 30 or 40 different people over 4 months, and keeping them consistently engaged in a common goal, which has been somewhat difficult. So what we've achieved through that is an additional 400 articles to respond to students with accurate and student-centric knowledge, and it's assisting our frontline team right now with a peak in inquiries and a surge in inquiries to be able to quickly respond to those students.
Okay, so how does collaboration inspire your creativity?
I think different perspectives on anything that you're doing is going to spark creativity. I think new ways of thinking, even just a one comment about an article sometimes sparks a whole new train of thought I hadn't thought about, and we end up shooting down on a project where we're developing a whole suite of articles because someone asked a question. For example, I was in a focus group recently where a student looked at me and went, "What are credit points?" And I just went, oh wow, we have nothing that even explains what credit points are here at the university, let alone how that ties into all of our processes. So I think it was being able to have that opportunity to collaborate with students in that focus group sparked creativity of defining and redefining our content to explain what credit points are, to use intuitive ways to explain maybe we don't use credit points, maybe we use a number of subjects and generalise how many credit points that means because that resonates more. So I think collaboration always leads to creativity because it's new ways of thinking, different perspectives. You know, not everyone can know everything all at once, and yeah, I think it's important.
Okay, so finally, last question. How would you go about addressing the creative brief, which is engage an audience in a fact-based dreaming of their possible futures?
Yeah, when I think of futures, and especially in a space like knowledge management, I can't help but think about AI. And I think recently in the news, and especially at the university, things like ChatGPT and the abundance of AI technology that's readily available now. I think it used to be just for big businesses locked behind doors, and now that people can see it, it's becoming a bit more real. And I know it's coming for the knowledge management space, and I'm excited for it really. But looking at how I might work alongside it one day in the future is totally different to how my role is right now. So whilst I'm the knowledge management coordinator, I commonly joke about managing the knowledge myself, whereas in the future I believe AI will probably take over that role of managing the knowledge. But that doesn't mean that my position in the knowledge management coordinator role will become redundant or take away from what I do. I think it'll just change the way that I work, and instead of writing articles in a way that consolidates information for students and I manage it myself, it'll be more long form content for AI to pick up with exceptions and rules and student demographic types, where it then can pull from this long form text, manage it itself and spit out whatever the accurate advice would be for a student of that type. So I don't think it's going to take away my job. I'm really excited to work alongside it. I think AI will be able to manage the knowledge significantly better than I can, but what it will lead to is better knowledge and more personal advice for students, yeah.
So after speaking to Sam, I reflected on the kind of future AI represents. It doesn't have to be this bleak AI will take our jobs kind of future. AI will allow us to focus on things that actually matter. It can take away the menial labor-intensive task and allow us to truly consider system improvements. Thinking about AI as if it's a countdown to our own personal doom completely misses the point about innovation. It's a step towards the future where we can be more intentional with what we do. We will have more time and more resources. Thinking about that future, it begins with embracing it. Then we can make the real effort to improve our world. If you haven't heard of the Ask UOW knowledge base yet, I would highly recommend using the system as it's greatly helped me throughout my time at UOW. I also want to give a huge thanks to Samantha Pearce for her wonderful interview, and I wish her all the best in all her career efforts. And with that, I conclude this interview. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something new. With that, goodbye.